You are listening to Pivot Parenting, episode 201, When Being Wrong is Parenting Peace of Mind. Welcome to Pivot Parenting, the place where we recognize when your parental role needs to shift and how to do it. I'm your host and parenting expert, Heather Frazier. All right. Welcome. Can I just say this is one of my favorite things? I know that seems weird, but I actually love being wrong. Speaking of being wrong, something that I was wrong about is I would never write a book. Last year I wrote 2 books. 2. One of them is set to publish right now, and I am having a book launch party, and I want you to come so badly. It's going to be so fun. I'm going to have copies of my book there if you want to buy one and have me sign it. But everybody that comes is going to get the free audio. If you already have a book, I have book plates, so I can sign that for you to put in your book, or you can bring it. The boutique that I'm having it at is one of my very favorite places to shop, and my girls love it too. It's called Soul Boutique. That's SOEL Boutique, and it's in the Shops at Riverwoods Mall, just right at the mouth of Provo Canyon. It's super cute. They have great jewelry and shoes and clothes and accessories and baby items. I kind of frequent it fairly often, so even if you don't come this Saturday, you might see me there another day. But it's going to be really fun, and I want you to come. So grab your sisters, your mom, your friends, whoever's around, and bring them. There's also great restaurants. It's right next to one of my favorite restaurants, Seven Brothers. Their burgers are tremendous. I get this one with pineapple and an onion ring in it. It's totally bomb. Usually I like to split it with somebody because it's kind of big, but it's delicious, and their fries are delicious. And I just want you to come and have a really fun day. And I want to meet you and talk with you and take pictures and shop and have fun. It's a girls' afternoon. It's from 11 to 1. So perfect time. The kids are doing their thing. Come down and visit me for a little while. It would be so fun. And I love that I was wrong about not writing a book, because now I get to have a party with you, which is so fun. And I'm going to do another party when my second book drops. I'm working with an artist, so that's going to delay the publication date a little bit, but it is going to be well worth it. If you want my 9-step process of how to fix your teen, you definitely want the book. This is not a process that I've taught here on the podcast either, just so you know. I definitely have taught elements of it, but not in the way that I do in the book, not in a streamlined, applicable fashion. I just am excited. It's going to be super fun. And I helped design the cover. I did the artwork for it, and I did drawings in the book. They're so tremendous. Seriously, if you're an artist, you're going to be so impressed by my little stick figures. And I did some fishies, which are really cute. Okay, so today, being wrong. Most people think that it's wrong to be wrong and really bad and shameful. But that's only because that's what our subconscious tells us. We've got different parts of our brain. Did you know this? Some just kind of run under the radar. Like if you think about your house, you sort of have the furnace that just kicks off and on, or air conditioner, based on the temperature. It's just self-automated. But then you have things like the stovetop that doesn't really do anything unless you get out a pan and some food and butter and you cook stuff on it. That's sort of how our brains work too. We have subconscious and conscious. Most of us have beliefs that we don't even realize we've been thinking, that are just kind of running behind the scenes, like our furnace or like the refrigerator. It just is there. We don't even realize it. We might come home and be like, oh, the house feels warm or the house feels cold, but we're not thinking about the furnace. We're just thinking, that's an interesting sensation. And then a half a second later, somebody's talking to us and our brain is completely on to the next topic, right? Our kids need us, or there's a package we need to sign for, or whatever. My goal today is to bring a few of these parenting ones up to the surface for you and I to see so that you can decide if you like them and want to keep them. I just want you to know that there are very few facts in life. Now, I would say one fact is that there's a sun and all these planets orbit around it, and we're one of those planets, and we rotate, and that's how we have a gravitational pull. Like the law of gravity, that's a fact, right? Or the exact temperature outside, or how many miles it is to my sister's house. Those are facts. Most of the things in life, though, that we think about that consume our day and our brain space, those are thoughts. Sometimes they feel like facts. I just was coaching somebody and she said it was a fact that her daughter didn't like her. I said, has she ever said that? And she said, well, not in those exact words. But you know what's interesting is we ran through a few different models and it kind of didn't matter if it was fact or a story. It still wasn't serving her to bite into that and to think that it was a problem. Did you guys know it's not a problem if your kid doesn't like you? You can be wrong. That if your kid doesn't like you or you think they don't like you, that something has gone wrong. What if it's just okay? Sometimes we just don't like people, including in our family. Did you know that can be okay? We can be wrong about that being a problem. This is exactly what I want to break down for you today. Okay, let's dive in. When we believe that we are right about things we don't like our kid not liking us, it can cause a lot of pain, shame, fighting, and otherwise problematic results for us. The first and most important one is this stupid belief that being wrong is bad or failing or being incorrect or not having all the information, not being as smart, not knowing everything, that's bad. So this is either trauma, ego, or pride talking. Because all of us are wrong on a lot of things. In fact, I don't know a human that's right about anything, like everything. No human is right about everything. This is the single most worst, unhelpful thing we can buy into as parents and humans. Because then we all have to be right all the time in order to be worthy. And that is one of our basic hardwiring things that we all search for, is to be worthy and lovable. And when we tie that to being right, we make all kinds of problems for ourselves. Because that means that we can't learn, which means we won't evolve, which means we won't grow and be our best selves. Because somebody who's right all the time, well, they don't need to learn anything else, right? That's how we learn. When our kids come home with their homework and they're learning their colors or their shapes, we'll be like, no, that's a circle, not a square. And they're like, oh, okay. And they don't cry about it. It's just like, oh, I forgot. Same thing. But when we feel like we have to be right and know everything, it's bad for us, bad for our kids, and bad for our communities. Let me give you an example of this. Video games. For a long time, I thought video games were the worst. And I coach a lot of clients around this as well. That screens will lure your kids to become mental jello and eventually ruin their lives. So I want to tell you a story. Just before I found coaching, I was attending a local college and I took an English class. And the main assignment for the semester was this semester-long writing assignment on any topic you wanted, but it had to be researched and written in a very formal, more scientific way. And so you could only use peer-reviewed sources. And what that term peer-reviewed means is that the professionals who wrote the articles were reviewed and published, were first off reviewed by other professionals to make sure that it was legit, and published in medical journals. So none of the Facebook clickbait opinion spun articles. These are all really smart scientists who do longitudinal and other kinds of studies. They study it for a long time. It's their area of expertise. And they're really, really smart. This is where our doctors are getting their information. Okay? And did you know that you can go to Google Scholars and it will give you all of the peer-reviewed articles that they have? It's kind of fun to go to Google Scholars when you don't want somebody else's opinion interpreting what the professional said. Here I am, full-blown invested in the screens will end my kid up in a ruined life and perhaps even hell mindset. I hated how much they dominated my dad and brother growing up. I told my husband we'd never have a gaming console because I knew that that was good parenting. Then, when my son was around 4 or 5, my husband came home with a Wii. I was not very happy about that. But he promised me that, of course, they'd just play it together and stuff. It's like getting a dog. I'll take care of it. I'll feed. No, it's all lies. Anyway, so my son took to the Wii like my worst nightmare. And we had been fighting over it ever since. So from about the age of 4 or 5, for like almost a good decade, we were fighting about video games, how much time and him sneaking it, all the things. I would have even potentially called him addicted to video games. One year for Christmas, he wanted a PS4, and he woke up at midnight and set it up and played it until all of us woke up at 6 a.m. He really liked video games, and it was really a bone of contention between the two of us. So when this English assignment came around, I was so excited to have an entire semester to research and just prove him. I was gleeful to be able to take the time and show him and my husband that video games really were the devil, and I had scientific evidence. So take that and let's check it out the window. Fast forward to the end of that term when I had finished my paper. I ended up writing, all with peer-reviewed articles. Again, it's not just people spewing opinion on Facebook or TikTok. These are studies that have been done with controlled, good scientists, all the things. Well, guess what? Video games aren't bad. They have nothing to do with actual shootings or real-life violence. They can be beneficial to the reflexes, the nervous system, problem solving, and peer interactions. Up to 2 to 3 hours a day, you can glean the benefits of playing video games. At that point, then they kind of plateau. You don't get more benefit the longer you play, but several hours a day, you can glean benefits. And they hold no ill consequence if all of the other needs are being met. So a healthy diet, sunshine and exercise, sleep, personal interactions, personal hygiene. If your kid is doing all those things and they're still playing video games for a couple hours a day, it's actually beneficial. Just a big fat slice of humble pie is what I served myself. I was wrong. I was so wrong. And after licking my wounds, I also realized that humility really is what feels best. So I told my son what I'd learned, and we had some good conversations. And guess what? The fighting pretty much all but disappeared because I finally let go. Not of just he could play however he wanted, but we were on the same page, more or less. And guess what happened? A year or two later, his interest totally slumped. He'd moved on to the stock market and cryptocurrency and NFTs, and he even won a bot. I don't really understand this, but he won this really expensive bot by winning a video game because you can't just do like a CAPTCHA because all the people who are into tech know how to kind of go around so they can bot contests. So he had to play this video game because only real people could do that. Or at least that's the premise of it. I'm sure somebody could hack it, but he played this video game and he won it. He won a $5,000 bot that then he turned around and resold. So basically he made $5,000 because he's really good at video games. So by me totally embracing that I was wrong about video games, I helped my mental peace and the peace between my son and I, and thus my entire home. So we actually want to be wrong about things. A lot of times we pit ourselves against like our kid or our spouse, and we just have to be right. But again, that's like trauma, ego, pride interacting. And those are things that are me problems, not them problems. And we need to work on those independently of everybody else and clean that up so that we can be humble, because that's actually the most respectable, beautiful, helpful way to parent from. Okay, another thing, I'm just going to highlight a few different places where I commonly see parents being wrong. But essentially, I could speak all day, every day, and not come up with an inclusive list of all the ways. So I really want you to pay attention to more of the concept and less of the specific examples so that you can see the specific ways that you are wrong in unhelpful ways in your parenting. But one lie is that parents are supposed to know. Your kid has been cutting, vaping, sexting, cheating. We find these things out and we think we should have known. That's a lie. When we punish ourselves with not knowing, we're expending energy, causing harm, depleting what we have available to help our babies. That's not good. I talk a lot about this actually in my book, How I Fixed My Teen. How I did not know what my teen was doing. And she was doing some of these things. And it can be really damaging to our psyche and therefore our family if we buy into the lie that I should have known. You're wrong about that. You also aren't supposed to know the answer to everything or how to fix everything. Sometimes we figure stuff out with our kids, teaching them the process, and sometimes we'll never know. And that's just the way that it is. I promise you, if you have found something out recently, you weren't supposed to know until now. Doesn't mean you feel good about it, but it does alleviate unnecessary and potentially harmful pain. I especially like this around religion. We think that we've got to have all the answers for their questions, or they'll leave the family faith. Not necessarily. They could even have all the answers and choose to leave, or not have any of the answers and choose to say. Your clergy, them, doesn't matter how high up you are in any given religion, there will always be things we don't have answers to. Always. Why does God allow that to happen? Why are some people this way or that way? Why did this have to happen? I actually think that it's supposed to be this way. We're not supposed to have all the answers because that's how we gain faith, is through our agency to believe without knowing. Peace of mind isn't knowing everything they're doing or knowing all the answers. It is knowing that some things you'll know and everything else you can figure out. It's knowing that if you find out what they've been doing, the teacher calls or their friend's parents call, says, hey, this is going on. That's the exact time that you were supposed to know. Because that's when you found out. So don't play the game of coulda, woulda, shoulda. It really depletes your energy. And this is usually in times when your kids really need all your energy to help them. So focus on them and like, what can we do today, right now, and be more future focused. And of course, If you're spinning in trauma and all those kinds of things, get a professional set of eyes on yourself or your kid, wherever it's needed. Okay, blame. People are wrong when they try to point blame. That it's your teen's fault, or their friends to blame, or your spouse who failed, or you that's to blame. Yes, no, maybe. We want to blame or take responsibility so that we can make sense of the situation, to control it. Not peace-inducing most of the time. I also kind of touch on this in my book, Control. That's the title of chapter 3, Control. It's my fault, and also let me do everything. Do you ever feel like that? Because we want to be able to control so that the blame's not on us. It can be on somebody else. But this is tied in with the second one, which is failure, which has an undercurrent of there's a problem, something has gone wrong, that I failed, that they've failed, that your spouse is failing, that there's something wrong with the current situation. Blame and failure are kind of like Siamese twins like that. What if nothing has gone wrong? What if that's the truth? Now, it doesn't mean that we like it. What if COVID was supposed to happen? What if your spouse was supposed to lose their job? What if your teen was supposed to be vaping or cutting? Because that is what gets you to where you need to be. Again, I'm not trying to diminish trauma, but trauma does happen. And when we look to point blame or to say that it's a failing, then it keeps us stuck. And what frees us is simply admitting that even though we wouldn't have chosen it, even though we don't like it, it is what it is. And so now what? Nothing has gone wrong. I was driving with my friend today, and I remembered the term plot twist. We were talking about something going on in her life, and I was like, oh, it was a plot twist. And we had a good chuckle because, yeah, life hands us plot twists. And instead of thinking there's someone to blame or someone has dropped the ball, what if it was always going to be that way? From the beginning of time, on this day, at this time, this thing was always meant to happen. Your kid was going to be doing the thing, or you weren't going to know the answers, or their friends were going to do something. Nothing has gone wrong. It really can provide peace when you can wrap your head around it. And if you can't, that's okay too. There's a place for everybody, I promise. Okay, and then something else that I see that just is so fun. Worst case scenario. Have you guys done this? How your brain catastrophizes everything? Well, my kid is going to get their permit and they're going to wreck the car and kill everybody, like within a 50-mile radius. Or if they go to that party, they're going to do drugs and become a drug addict. Or if I don't monitor them 24/7, they won't be responsible and do the things that they're supposed to do. Now, a lot of times our brains will have a lot of evidence as to why it's throwing at us the worst case scenario, right? Like maybe your kid just is kind of aloof and they're not really good with time management. So you feel like you have to write them all the time. Or not. We just don't know. Maybe you have to stop writing them for them to learn time management. But there's a certain part of our brain that always tries to paint the worst case scenario. Because then it's like a little dress rehearsal. Then we'll know what to do. Then we'll be prepared. So we can say, thanks for the warning. And if worst case scenario happens, now I'm prepared. But chances are I'm wrong about that. Have you guys ever thought, I could be wrong about that? It's actually my pivot that I want to invite you to consider. Whenever a painful conversation comes up, I want you to consider how you could be wrong in your stance. Seriously. I like to think that teenagers should lie, and they probably should get in at least one car accident when they are figuring out how to drive, and one speeding ticket or more. They should do poorly in some of their classes. That's evidence of a good school, right? Or a hard teacher, or a totally unfair, really rude teacher that doesn't deserve to teach. And yet that's still part of life. Whether it's a teacher, a coworker, a boss, a roommate, we come across those people and we're supposed to learn from them. Did you know that? Difficult people are sometimes our best teachers. We could be wrong about them too. We could be wrong about our kids' friends. We could be wrong about our kids' friends' parents. We could be wrong about our neighbors, our in-laws. We can be wrong about their teachers that they complain about at school. When we open ourselves up to the possibility of being wrong, if we can drop the ego and resolve any trauma that might be involved, it's actually quite liberating and really expansive in the way that we see the world, and we can interact with people and see ourselves, honestly. What if I'm wrong that my body is gross? Well, then I can enjoy being outside and doing fun things with my kids more instead of hiding it. What if I'm wrong that I have to be a certain way to be valuable? Then I just get to be me. I get to be goofy and stupid with my kids, and it's so fun. Okay, that's my pivot for you. I would love, love, love to hear all the ways that you are happily wrong. And I would actually love it in the form of a podcast review. I happen to believe that podcast reviews are really good. I could be wrong about it, but it's been a while since I've gotten one. So if you're sticking around, if you're liking what you're learning, I would love for you just to go write a review on iTunes about something that I taught you were wrong about and how your life is so much better now and your parenting. Will you do that favor for me? I would love it. And I look forward to meeting you on not September. Wow, I'm already jumping to the end of the year. March 2nd at Soul Boutique in the Riverwoods. I'm going to be emailing and posting on social media all of the details. So definitely follow me on social media, get on my email list so that you don't miss the details. And I will see you then.